Take off that pilot costume right now, son. You don't belong here. Colonel Olivia Vance's words sliced through the drone hangar like a whip, causing 150 military personnel to halt and gawk. Alex Maverick Carter, 28, a lean black man, stood rigid before his superior, his hands trembling, not from fear, but from a calculated fury simmering beneath the surface. The Air Force uniform he'd worn with such honor for 6 years suddenly felt like a straitjacket. Every commendation on his chest seemed to brand his skin as the scornful stares bored into him. "Colonel, with all due respect, my performance on recent simulations," Alex tried to interject, but Vance cut him off with a brutal laugh that rippled through her subordinates. "Performance? Maverick, you've flown a few hours on a glorified Xbox, and you think that makes you a drone pilot. This diversity initiative has spiraled out of control. We're talking about next-gen military assets worth billions, not cheap toys. If you've ever felt the sting of being underestimated, this story is for you." Meet Alex Maverick Carter, a man who's about to show the world that true excellence can't be hidden, no matter how much they try. If you're ready to see what happens when you rise above the odds, hit that subscribe button and like this video. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Stay tuned. The public humiliation had begun 3 months prior when Alex was transferred to Fort Evergreen under the guise of integrating promising talent. In reality, he knew he was a pawn, the photogenic young black man the Air Force could flaunt in its recruitment drives. What no one there knew was that Alex Carter wasn't just another promising pilot. From day one, Tiffany Hayes, daughter of Senator Hayes and heir to a tech empire, had set the tone. "Look, everyone, our new diversity quota has arrived." She'd whispered during the first briefing, loud enough for Alex to hear. Her squadron mates snickered discreetly, some with genuine discomfort, others with thinly veiled approval. For weeks, Alex had meticulously documented every snide comment, every coded racial joke, every subtle act of sabotage. His drone's communication links would mysteriously falter before crucial reconnaissance missions. His flight logs would vanish from the system. His requests for additional simulation time were denied without explanation. "You know what the problem is with your kind?" Vance continued, her voice dripping with condescension. "You always believe you're owed something special, that the rules don't apply to you, that you can take the place of truly qualified pilots just because," she paused dramatically, "just because it's politically correct." Alex closed his eyes for a fleeting moment, recalling the promise he'd made to his older sister, Captain Ava Carter, before her last classified mission 2 years ago. "When I get back, Alex, I'll tell you about places you can't even imagine, about the sacrifices we make to keep this country safe." She never returned. Officially, that mission never happened. "I said, take off your uniform now." The colonel's voice spiked, and Alex realized he had no choice. The circle of military personnel around him had tightened. Some filmed discreetly on their phones, others looked away, clearly uncomfortable, but lacking the courage to intervene. Slowly, Alex began to remove his rank insignia. The medal he'd earned on missions that officially never existed, the Drone Combat Cross for exceptional valor during a counterinsurgency operation in the Sahel, the Air Warfare Medal for 25 high-stakes ISR missions, the Elite Pathfinder badge that only 100 people alive possessed. Each piece that clinked onto the concrete floor sounded like a judgment. Tiffany Hayes recorded everything on her phone, her arrogant smile revealing perfectly aligned teeth and a lifetime of unquestioned privilege. Finally, someone had the guts to speak the truth. She muttered to her colleagues, "Black men commanding advanced drones. What a joke." What none of them noticed was the small, almost imperceptible smile Alex suppressed when his hands touched the last medal, an unmarked, small, discreet commendation he'd received directly from General Gideon Thorne after a deep cover operation that required presidential authorization. He held it for an extra moment before placing it gently on the floor. Alex carefully folded the uniform and laid it down. When he straightened up, his eyes met Vance's with a serenity that unsettled some of those present. For a brief moment, something in his posture, the way he held his shoulders, the absolute calm of his movements, made the colonel hesitate. "Colonel," Alex said in a steady voice, each word measured with surgical precision, "thank you for showing me exactly who you are, and thank you for reminding me exactly who I am." As he walked towards the exit, each step echoed in the tense silence of the hangar. No one there imagined they were witnessing the last day of one of the greatest injustices Fort Evergreen would ever commit. In the pocket of his civilian pants, his phone vibrated discreetly. A message from a number that officially did not exist. Package delivered. Authorization confirmed. 72 hours. What those men and women didn't know was that Alex Carter carried secrets buried in files so confidential that not even the Pentagon itself admitted their existence. And when someone with his caliber of training is publicly humiliated, the response comes from an altitude that few humans have ever reached. There, in front of all the contemptuous stares, he had maintained his composure like someone guarding a secret too powerful to be revealed before the right time. What none of them could have imagined was that this humiliation had just triggered military protocols that would turn the next few days into a lesson in power no military manual has ever documented. The next 48 hours were a masterclass in systematic humiliation. The video of Alex's dismissal had spread through military WhatsApp groups like wildfire. Diversity drone pilot finally grounded. Read the caption Tiffany Hayes had added before sharing it with her 500 contacts. Alex drove his 2018 Toyota Camry to the quiet townhouse he rented off base, where he'd lived the 2 most peaceful years of his adult life. For the first time in decades, no one knew who he really was. His neighbors knew him as the quiet veteran who worked on civilian drone maintenance, a half-truth that allowed him to stay connected to what he loved most without raising suspicion. On the phone, his father was crying on the other end. "Son, I saw the video. My God, how could they treat you like that?" David Carter, a retired machinist, had raised his 2 children alone in Baltimore, working 3 jobs so Alex could attend specialized robotics programs. He knew his son was special, but he never knew exactly how special. "Dad, it's okay. This will pass." Alex lied, watching through the window as a black SUV with government plates parked discreetly on the corner for 2 hours. Some secrets were too heavy to share, even with those you loved most. Meanwhile, at Fort Evergreen, Vance celebrated as if she'd won a major campaign. Did you see how quiet he was? They knew exactly where they stood. She boasted to a group of officers in the Officers Club. "This inclusion program is a joke." It always has been. Tiffany Hayes, still elated from the likes on her viral video, decided one humiliation wasn't enough. She created an Instagram group called Real Operators Only and posted a photo of the table where Alex used to sit in the cafeteria with the caption, "Finally, we can eat in peace without diversity quotas." What none of them knew was that every post, every mean comment, every arrogant laugh was being meticulously documented by someone who understood the difference between anecdotal evidence and legal proof. Alex had learned during his years in classified operations that patience wasn't a weakness, it was the most lethal weapon there was. On Thursday night, he drove to a secluded diner on the highway where a 60-year-old white woman with sharp, intelligent eyes waited for him in a back booth. General Eleanor Harding wasn't in uniform, but her military bearing was unmistakable even in civilian clothes. "I'm sorry about all this, Alex. If I could have prevented it," she began, but he cut her off with a gesture. "General, you once told me that sometimes we have to let the enemy expose themselves completely before we strike." Vance just did exactly that. He slid a slim, encrypted tablet across the table. 3 years of evidence, systematic discrimination, equipment sabotage, falsified reports, not just with me, but with 17 other minority service members under her command. Harding opened the tablet, her eyes widening with each data point. "Good heavens, Alex, how did you get all this?" "You trained me well, General. Always document everything, always have a plan B, always think 3 moves ahead." He smiled for the first time in days. "And always keep the most important cards hidden until the right moment." The right moment had arrived. The general closed the tablet, studying the face of the man who had been her best operative. "What do you need from me?" "Authorization for a demonstration that makes it clear who I really am, something they can't deny, distort, or bury." Alex paused, his eyes shining with an intensity Harding recognized. "And I want it public enough for the entire Air Force to watch." "Alex, you understand that this will expose everything, your classified operations, your real rank, your missions in the Sahel. You'll never have a normal life again." "General, for the last 2 years I've been pretending to be normal. I woke up, went to work, came home, watched TV like every other person. And you know what I found out? He leaned forward. Normal is overrated, especially when people like Vance use normal to justify prejudice. Harding nodded slowly. 48 hours. I'll get presidential clearance for a technical demonstration of advanced aerial reconnaissance capabilities. Officially, it will be a test of new flight protocols. Unofficially, she smiled. It will be the end of the career of anyone who underestimated my ghost. On Friday morning, Tiffany Hayes posted another video on TikTok, this time imitating Alex's voice. With all due respect, Colonel, my performance, followed by exaggerated laughter. The video had 50,000 views in 2 hours. Alex watched from his apartment, drinking coffee and making notes in a military-grade notebook. Every view, every toxic comment, every cruel laugh was building his legal defense. More importantly, it was building something much more powerful. Absolute moral justification for what he was about to do. His phone vibrated with a message from a restricted number. Authorization granted. Demonstration scheduled for Monday, 800 hours, Hangar 7. All base personnel will be summoned for mandatory new technology training. Alex smiled, remembering the words his flight instructor had said 15 years ago. When you are absolutely certain of your superiority, you don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to fly. Each new humiliation only strengthened something inside him that his oppressors couldn't see. A silent force fueled by the very injustice they tried to impose. What those privileged people didn't know was that every act of contempt was writing their own sentence of defeat, and that Monday would be the day when all scores would be settled in a way no military manual had ever documented. Over the weekend, while Tiffany Hayes posted more videos mocking quota pilots, Alex was 400 km away at a military facility that didn't officially exist on any maps. The Whisper base was known only to a select few, but the real marvel was happening in the underground hangar where he meticulously checked every system on the most advanced stealth drone ever built. "Are you still sure about this?" Alex asked Major Kenji Tanaka, the only technician authorized to prepare the aircraft. "Once you get on that machine with a live broadcast, there's no turning back." Alex ran his hand along the drone's sleek fuselage, feeling the cold composite beneath his fingers. "Kenji, for the past 2 years, I've been pretending to be just a mechanic. I woke up at 5:30 a.m., worked on commercial drones, came home, and watched Netflix like a normal person." He paused, his eyes shining with a familiar intensity. "But you know what I've learned about normal? It's overrated." What no one at Fort Evergreen knew was that Alex Ghost Carter wasn't just a qualified pilot. He was the only person alive approved to remotely pilot military prototypes that cost more than the GDP of some island nations. His classified license included drones that appeared in science fiction movies because the public would never suspect they were real. Meanwhile, Vance took advantage of the weekend to spread the story of the token pilot among her military contacts. "You guys have to see this," she said, showing the video of the humiliation to fellow officers. "This is what happens when diversity policies go too far. It's a disgrace to the uniform." Tiffany Hayes had turned the situation into a personal crusade. She created a hashtag, Real Operators Only, which was gaining traction on military social media. Finally, someone had the courage to speak the truth. She wrote in a post that received hundreds of likes, "Excellence has no color, but incompetence definitely does." What she didn't know was that every post, every snide comment, every smug laugh was being meticulously documented by a team of military lawyers working directly for the Pentagon. Alex had learned during his classified operations that patience was not passivity. It was ammunition being stockpiled for the right moment. On Monday morning, an urgent summons was sent to all military personnel at Fort Evergreen. Mandatory demonstration of new flight technologies, mandatory attendance in Hangar 7 at 800 hours. Full dress uniform. Vance frowned as she read the order. "What demonstration is this? No one told me about any technology visit." Her assistant just shrugged, equally confused. Tiffany Hayes took the opportunity to post another provocation. "I bet they're bringing in some token minority to show us how inclusive they are. What a circus." The post received 200 likes in an hour. At 7:45 a.m., Alex parked his Toyota Camry in the base parking lot for the last time. On the passenger seat was a folder containing his real military 1D, not the sanitized version he used as a mechanic, but the original with mission stamps that would give intelligence analysts sleepless nights. He walked toward Hangar 7, where 300 military personnel were already gathering, all curious about the mysterious demonstration. Vance was at the front, clearly annoyed she hadn't been informed in advance. Tiffany Hayes was filming everything on her phone, hoping for more material for her social media accounts. "Attention," shouted a sergeant. "Report to General Harding." Murmuring ceased. Instantly, General Harding was a legend. 3 wars, 2 presidential decorations, and a reputation for never wasting time on nonsense. Her presence there meant something extraordinary was about to happen. "Military personnel." Her voice echoed through the hangar. "Today you will witness a demonstration of aerial capabilities that will redefine your concepts of operational excellence." She paused, her eyes briefly meeting Alex's in the crowd. "Prepare to meet one of the greatest legends in American military aviation." Vance whispered to a colleague, "Must be some veteran Top Gun pilot." Finally, a real example of competence. Tiffany Hayes zoomed in on her phone, eager to capture more viral content. Then the whir of advanced turbine propellers cut through the morning air. The sound was different, almost silent, yet deeply powerful, unlike any drone they had ever heard. Through the huge hangar doors, an impossible silhouette appeared against the blue sky. A prototype stealth drone, its futuristic lines cutting through the air like a phantom, flew over the base at 200 feet. But it wasn't the aircraft that made 300 military personnel hold their breath. It was the absolute precision of the flight, a demonstration of control that turned physics into art. "My God," someone in the crowd murmured. "Who the hell is flying that thing?" Alex smiled discreetly, watching the faces around him shift from casual curiosity to reverent awe. In a few minutes, that entire hangar full of preconceptions would be forced to confront the difference between what they thought they knew and what excellence really meant. The stealth drone executed a sequence of maneuvers that left even the most experienced pilots speechless. Impossible low-altitude passes, gravity, defying turns. An aerial dance that seemed more like choreography than a test of equipment. Every movement demonstrated not only technical competence, but an intuitive understanding of the aircraft that transformed machine and operator into a single entity. Tiffany Hayes stopped filming, her phone shaking in her incredulous hands. Vance tried to maintain her composure, but her eyes betrayed a mixture of amazement and something that was beginning to look like discomfort. "Traffic control to Ghost 1, a voice crackled over the hangar's loudspeakers. "Request permission to land and report in." Alex closed his eyes for a moment, savoring the irony. In the next few minutes, those same people who had humiliated him would discover they had spent weeks mocking someone whose military achievements were studied in militaries around the world. The difference between underestimating and understanding was about to be demonstrated in a way no military manual had ever documented. The stealth drone landed with absolute perfection, taxiing toward the hangar where 300 military personnel stood in mesmerized silence. When the operator's console lifted, revealing the pilot within, a familiar black face. "No, it can't be," Tiffany Hayes muttered, her phone slipping from her hands. Alex Maverick Carter walked to the microphone, each step echoing in the deadly silence. "My name is Lieutenant Colonel Alex Ghost Carter. For the past 2 years, I've been pretending to be a mechanic to observe how you treat people you consider inferior." His eyes met Vance's directly. "The results have been educational." General Harding stepped forward. For those who don't know, Lieutenant Colonel Carter is the only pilot in history to remotely neutralize 6 enemy targets in actual combat zones. He has 47 commendations, including 2 classified Silver Stars. Vance had turned completely pale. "That's impossible. He was just a quota mechanic." "Colonel," Alex interrupted, gesturing to a massive screen that descended from the ceiling. "Over the past 3 months, I have systematically documented every act of discrimination." The first image showed Tiffany Hayes posting the video of the humiliation. The second revealed her messages mocking military quotas. The third showed Vance laughing at the situation with other officers. "But that's just the beginning, Colonel. You systematically sabotaged the careers of 23 minority service members. You falsified reports. You manipulated evaluations." The screen displayed official documents. And you altered medical records to force the retirement of a white female pilot who outperformed your protégés. Tiffany Hayes tried to hide, but Alex found her. Miss Hayes, you created hashtags like Real Operators Only and posted 47 videos mocking men and minorities in the military. Screenshots of her social media appeared on the screen. Your videos were seen by 200,000 people. Congratulations, you've become a public figure. The young woman was visibly shaking. I was just joking, you weren't serious. Alex laughed, a dry, humorless sound. I have 200 pages of legal documentation, systematic discrimination, hostile environment, defamation, cyberbullying, misuse of military resources. General Harding took the microphone again. Colonel Vance, you are charged with misconduct, racial and gender discrimination, and falsification of official documents. Your commission is revoked effective immediately. The hangar exploded in murmurs. Vance collapsed into a chair, her uniform looking too big for her shrunken body. Miss Hayes will be permanently banned from military installations. A criminal investigation will examine your posts as incitement to hatred. Alex approached Vance. Colonel, 3 days ago you said I didn't belong in a military uniform. Today you found out I'm one of the few people authorized to pilot aircraft that cost more than some countries' national budgets. He faced the crowd. To all of you who laughed, filmed, or chose silence in the face of injustice, you have just learned that underestimating someone can be the most expensive mistake of your lives. Tiffany Hayes stumbled towards him, tears streaming down her face. Please, my father can fix this. No, Alex interrupted her, his voice devoid of emotion. You had months to choose decency. You chose cruelty. Now, live with the consequences. Security officers approached Vance. Your escort is here, former colonel. As she was led away, Alex watched the transformed faces around him. Some were ashamed, some in awe, all clearly impacted. The power wasn't just in piloting an impossible machine, but in proving that excellence transcends prejudice, that dignity conquers arrogance. But something in Alex's determined gaze suggested that today's lesson was only the beginning of much greater changes that would transform not just a military base, but an entire culture that thrived on institutionalized prejudice. 6 months later, Alex was back in the control room where he had always belonged, but this time as commander of the new Military Aviation Excellence Academy, a revolutionary program he had created himself. The hangar that had witnessed his humiliation now bore a golden plaque, Lieutenant Colonel Alex Ghost Carter Training Center. Vance had lost everything. Her military pension was cut, her benefits revoked, and the investigation revealed 15 years of systematic corruption. She now worked as a night security guard at a desolate warehouse, her arrogance replaced by the empty stare of someone who finally understood the weight of her choices. Tiffany Hayes discovered that privilege without character is a house built on sand. Banned from all military installations, she faced lawsuits that consumed her family's fortune. Her viral videos became evidence in court, and tech companies refused to hire her. Toxic socialite was how she was now known on the internet. Commander Carter said to Captain Julian Davies, one of the first graduates of the new program, a brilliant young white man, the first semester results are in. We have the highest success rate in military history, 98%. And half of the graduates are women and minorities. Alex smiled, watching through the window as a diverse group of cadets practiced drone maneuvers with the precision he had taught them. Julian, do you know the difference between real excellence and privilege in disguise? Excellence reproduces itself, spreads, elevates others. Privilege only protects itself. Alex's program had become a model around the world. Delegations from 23 countries visited Fort Evergreen to learn his inclusive training methods. The manual, he wrote, Leadership Beyond Bias, was required reading at military academies globally. Kenji Tanaka, now a colonel and deputy director of the academy, filed a report. Alex, the official invitation just arrived. The president wants you to lead the first military space reconnaissance mission with a 100% diverse crew. History is being made again. What about our former colleagues? Alex asked, referring to the military personnel who had witnessed his humiliation. Half signed up for sensitivity and inclusive leadership training. The other half, well, they're discovering that the world has changed and they've been left behind. Alex walked over to the wall where the photo from that fateful day in the hangar was framed. In the picture, he was holding his uniform, laid on the floor while 300 people looked on. Next to it, a second photo showed the same hangar filled with cadets of all ethnicities, genders, and backgrounds, united by the excellence he had taught them. You know what I learned, Kenji? They tried to humiliate me publicly to show that I didn't belong there, but humiliation only works if you believe it. I knew exactly who I was. They were the ones who needed to figure it out. The phone rang. It was his father, David, calling from Baltimore. "Son, I just saw you on the news." My heart almost stopped with pride. "Do you remember what I always told you?" "Never let anyone convince you that you're less than you really are," Alex recited, smiling. "Exactly, and now the whole world knows how great my son really is." That night, Alex received an unexpected message. It was from a 16-year-old white girl in rural Iowa. "Commander, I saw your story on the internet. My dream is to be a military pilot, but everyone says that people like me can't do it. After seeing what you did, I've decided to try. You changed my life without even knowing me." It was the 100th similar message that week. Alex had become a global symbol that excellence transcends prejudice, that dignity overcomes arrogance, and that the best revenge is to build something greater than your oppressors could ever imagine. 2 years later, when Tiffany Hayes tried to enlist in the Army as an enlisted soldier, her last desperate chance to rebuild her life, she was rejected. The recruiter, a black veteran with a quiet dignity, looked at her file and said simply, "We remember you, Hayes." Character matters. Alex had proven that when you live your truth with excellence, you don't have to destroy your enemies. They destroy themselves while you build legacies that transform generations. True victory, he said in his graduation speech to 200 new pilots, is not making your enemies pay for what they did. It's building a world where the next generation never has to go through what you went through.